In this video, I interview a young woman who shares her story of overcoming obesity and binge eating after discovering bright line eating. Hi, Jim here with No Longer Chunky, where you get the latest tips, tricks, and tools to help you on your weight loss journey. On this channel, I focus primarily on helping and encouraging those who follow or want to learn more about the bright line eating method of losing weight and keeping it off. Now, bright line eating is what I use to lose over 150 pounds and overcome years of food addiction. So if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. So I recently interviewed a good friend of mine, Carol Marie, to learn more about her experience with bright line eating. I wanted to interview Carol Marie because I have really appreciated how much she has jumped into learning all about food addiction and the science behind bright line eating. Now, in spite of a demanding job with some occasional overnight hours and some significant health challenges that she and her husband face, she has still enjoyed so much success with bright line eating. And as you'll hear her share, the benefits of bright line eating go well beyond weight loss. So let's watch the interview that I just did with Carol Marie. I'm so excited to be joined today by my good friend Carol Marie. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her journey when it comes to bright line eating, and I'm excited to hear more of that. But first, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So like Jim said, my name is Carol Marie. I am about 23 years old. I'll be turning 24 by the end of September here. So I'll be 24 very shortly. I live in Illinois. I'm in the suburbs of Chicago. I'm a shelter manager at Journeys the Road Home, which is a homelessness organization in the suburbs. My husband is a student at Trinity International University, and we live on that campus there. So
great. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so maybe you could start off just telling us a little bit about kind of what your history has been in terms of struggling with food.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So perhaps comparatively, it's been a relatively short journey. Food wasn't a huge problem for me for most of my life. Although I do have a family history of obesity. Lots of excellent cooks and bakers in our families, and that adds up. So the weight problem really gradually began after my time as an athlete ended in high school. So it was very gradual for probably two or 3 years. But the food problems began probably my last year of college. That's when I got engaged, and graduation and clubs and responsibilities just stacked up. And so those food problems, that self-medication, really started happening my last year of college, right as I actually was a newlywed and started being a full-time provider. And then about 4 months into my marriage, my husband started to develop some serious health complications. So for about 1.5 years, 2 years, we were, my role as a newlywed wife switched into a caregiver role. And so I was really dealing with that through self-medication with food. That was in order to deal with, the fear, the rejection, the loneliness that I felt during that time. And of course, the weight gain that comes along with food problems was paired with a sedentary life. I had an hour-plus commute for my first job out of college. And, I was living to work, sleep, and eat at that time because of my commute. A job change led to better hours, but access to an all-day bakery for free. So those all accumulated to a pretty tremendous weight gain in a very short amount of time. So I spent about 2 years in an overweight and eventually obese body that battled food cravings, eating binges, insatiable hunger, major fatigue, all of those things. So it was about 2 years of time that I've been dealing with food and weight problems.
Okay, great. And so you've mentioned a lot of struggles there. Is there anything that really stands out to you in terms of what you really hated the most about this struggle?
The thing that I hated the most? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I really could not stop eating there near the end before I finally gave into the program that we're doing, or found it even. Um, once I had that tool in my hand and I wasn't letting go of some of those things, that was really frustrating. That I really felt that pull of being unable to stop eating. So that was really hard. The weight, self-image issues are something that people deal with most of their lives. So, I mean, that's part of it. But the frustration of being so incapable of controlling my eating was probably the hardest part.
So just at general, it's hard when you can't control, you can't stop. That is
Exactly.
frustrating. That is frustrating. And so, how did you first hear about Bright Line Eating?
I actually remember pretty specifically the date that I first heard about it. It was actually during the Reboot Resume launch in 2018. Actually, a friend from church had shared a video of another friend from church and his weight loss journey. So I watched your video of your, at that time, it was like a 140-pound weight drop, I think.
Yeah.
So I watched your video and it changed everything. So that's how I heard about it.
And we really didn't know each other that well at that point. I think maybe we'd met or something, but
yeah, you did. You were our interviewer for our membership search, but that was like it. And I didn't know who you were, but we, had lots of friends in common because it was church. So
yeah. And we don't go to a very large church, so that makes it a little easier, which is nice. So so that's cool. And what kind of made you decide to give this weird kind of program a try?
So when I actually took the susceptibility test right there after the video, because of that Reboot Resume launch, they had different videos at the end of the susceptibility test than they traditionally have. So it was actually Susan sitting on a couch and like talking to you. And so these videos were really intimate, and it just felt like she was talking to me like a friend. And talking about everything that I had gone through, and it just had clicked so well. So I bought the book, and due to some life things, it took me about 2 months to actually start the program. But so what actually decided to give it a try was that I knew it would work because of all of those. She was speaking directly into my life. She had gone through a lot of the similar stuff. She, all of that psychology, the food addiction, just rang so true with what I had been dealing with. It's like she had given me the code to the answers that I had been looking for all that time. So I was a little nervous, of course, like most people are when they first start by eating, but I knew in my heart of hearts that this was the answer, how to eat healthy and do it well to lose the weight. So
similar to me, really one of the first steps you took was to take that susceptibility quiz.
Yes.
Which really helps kind of give you a sense of how much you struggle with food addiction or how susceptible you are to it.
Yeah.
And I, like you, especially when I was reading the book, it was kind of like she was describing me so well, I almost thought I needed to get a restraining order because it's like, how does she know this about me?
It just, all the pieces connected, and like why some people never seem to have this problem, but I do,
Yeah.
It just made things, I was very grateful for that. Yeah.
Do you mind sharing your score with us?
When I first took the test, I was a 9.
Okay.
I like to say that because I feel like that's the most honest one of the different ones I've taken.
Sure. And I was a 10. And unless people think that everyone scores high, my wife is a 2. She scored a 2. So she had no clue what Susan was talking about. We think so differently about food. It was really kind of eye-opening for the two of us.
Right, exactly. My husband's a 6, so he has some struggles, and there's things that, he could make better choices if he wanted to, but food's not a huge problem with him, and he's never been overweight, so yeah.
It's interesting how different we can be.
Exactly.
So, so so after you took the quiz and you read the book and you decided to give it a go, what did you find was really the hardest kind of hurdle for you to get over at the
Mm.
beginning?
So in the beginning, the hardest hurdle. I think the line that I struggle with the most consistently is the quantities line.
Mm,
That's the one where I'm not always 100% honest with myself, where I really rely on the scale. It was the last line that I added. I did no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day for a couple months before I finally started adding that last line. Snacking had been a huge problem for me. That was a
okay.
huge part of my food addiction, but like giving that up wasn't nearly as difficult as like being honest about my portions and not feeling like I was getting enough for certain things. Of the lines, that one's the one that I struggle with. Of course, I still miss some of my favorite NMFs, but yeah, of the program itself, that was really hard.
Yeah.
Of the main program, at least. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, absolutely. That makes sense. And for those who may not be familiar, NMF is what we call not my food. So just lumps together a lot of the food that we avoid on Bright Line Eating
Yes.
because we are, eights, nines, or tens, or what have you on the food scale.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's neat. That's neat. So how has your life changed since you've kind of started Bright Line Eating?
I think the thing that I love the most, for me personally, is that it feels like I got my life back. Um,
Mm,
in the same way it felt like when I made a job change and I got more time during the day, during the waking hours,
yeah.
to have for myself, I felt like I got that same freedom back, that my day isn't filled with food thoughts. What will I eat when I get home? What will I have that will just hit
Yeah.
that right spot? I feel like my mental space has cleared up so much, and just kind of got back the feeling like maybe someday I can actually do hobbies. I never thought of myself as a hobby person before. And now with this mental space being cleared away, all that food chatter and stuff is just gone. I have that mental space to start pursuing hobbies that I never thought I would have the energy to do before. And the other thing that I think it's really changed for my life is that my parents have hopped on to do Bright Line
Ah,
after watching me do it for a few months. And they're both between the two of them, they've been doing it for about 2 months and have lost about 60 pounds together between the two of
wow.
them in a very short amount of time. My mom said to me the other day, she's like, I think you saved my life. I'm like, that to me spoke volumes about me keeping my parents for longer.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that part for my life, is
Wow.
to have them for a lot longer. So
That is so cool. So when people kind of see the success you have with Bright Line Eating, it really, really piques their interest
yes,
and they start to do it. So do you mind me asking if you've have you hit maintenance mode yet? Have you hit
I'm
your
very
goal?
close.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I'm about 3 pounds away from my first goal weight that I had, which,
Great.
so I've been like aiming for 135 for months, for years now.
Okay.
But I think I'm gonna drop another 5. So
Okay.
getting very close to maintenance mode and almost to goal weight. So
Wow. That's got to feel great.
it's amazing. I just still can't believe it. It
Yeah.
feels like it was so impossible before, and I'm almost there.
That is cool. That is cool because people definitely, obviously, your family have noticed a visual difference
Mm-hmm.
in you since you
Definitely.
started. That is cool. That is neat. Um, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe considering bright line eating because maybe they're higher up on the susceptibility scale as well?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, if some of these, conversations have, just piqued your interest, um, let yourself imagine what it might be like, what the possibilities could be if you just gave in. Um, it can be really tricky to imagine your life without certain foods, but what if it works? What if How much more health would you have? How much more, all the disease you might prevent, all the cancer you might prevent by just not being at a certain weight anymore. Just allow yourself to imagine what that might actually be like before imagining that this is just too restrictive. I think a lot of people get caught up in the restrictive side of it. But on this other side, on the grass is greener side, it doesn't feel restrictive at all anymore. It feels natural and the way that I feel like people like me should eat. So I would just let yourself give it a try. I even hesitate to say try because I really encourage you to just go full in. 2 feet, dabbling in the waters might not give the same results as just letting yourself do it and saying, this is the way that I'm going to go for now. And don't set an end date.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Just don't set an end date.
That is great. That is great advice. And in terms of your eating, so when you know it's going to be time for a meal, are you miserable? Like, are you miserable that, I got to eat this stuff? Like,
no,
maybe...
I think that for me, food has become fuel, and there are times where I'm hungry right before the meal, but we're supposed to be hungry about an hour before we eat. So sometimes I get hungry, but most of the time it's just it's 1:30, it's time for me to eat. So I don't have to even, I'm not struggling to get to 1:30 for lunch, or I'm not struggling to get to 6:30 for dinner. And once it's time to eat. And whether I'm hungry or not, I'm usually hungry by the time I actually start chewing the food, but definitely not wrapped in hunger anymore. No more insatiable hunger. Just enjoying the food that I had planned out and didn't have to think about. And it's all, once it's ready, it's ready. So
that is cool. And you're still enjoying food, right?
Gosh, I never thought how I had spaghetti squash before bright line eating, but then after bright line eating, it's just so sweet. So much food is so much more real, and in terms of what it actually is supposed to taste like, that you start noticing how much tastier it could be by just eating the right way more often for a long time. It's just all so delicious. I'm a big fan of cooked and roasted veggies, so I often have my veggies steamed. I'm lesser on salads than I used to be, but I eat so much cooked veggies, and they're just amazing. So
that is cool. Yeah, because when you start out and you're thinking about all the food you're not going to eat, you feel like, this is just going to be awful. But you reach a point where you find yourself saying things that you always thought other people were stupid saying, like, wow, these carrots are sweet.
I know. And it can be so varied if you allow yourself to try some new ways, new types of veggies, and new recipes, that kind of a thing. I mean, only so far with the recipes right now, but simple is good. But food just gets so much more vibrant once you've been on bright line eating for a few weeks.
That is so cool. That is cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. That is really cool. It's so encouraging to even hear about your parents and your family supporting you and jumping on the train there with you. So that is cool.
It's been amazing. It's life-changing. And it's only been a few, it's been just less than a year now, and it's life-changing. So.
That is cool. Oh, and before I let you go, the other thing I want to say, it's not like you've got an easy job. I mean, you sometimes have to work very late. You've got a stressful job. You mentioned your husband, Jake, who has had some chronic health issues. So, I mean, it's not like you've got this easy life and you've been able to just add on this bright line eating thing. You've been able to do this in the midst of real life, which is hard.
I have a job where on occasion I need to pull an overnight shift, so I could be up between the hours of 11 to 3 or 3 to 7. Randomly, just all of a sudden there's no volunteers there, so I gotta go. So life is very unpredictable with my type of job. And then, of course, with my husband's particular disease, it can be very unpredictable. So we might need to go to the hospital at a moment's notice. And that's how I have lived my life for, the last 2 years, but now much more healthily for the last 7-8 months. So.
Wow, that's good. So in other words, someone doesn't have to have their life completely in order and everything hunky-dory before they give Bright Line Eating a shot.
No, I started Bright Line Eating right at the beginning of one of my busiest seasons. I have 2 really busy seasons, and I started it April 1st. I started Bright Line Eating March 31st, April 1st, which is the start of one of my busy seasons that last about a month each. So I started it at a harder time, but I couldn't handle it. I couldn't do the way that I was eating food anymore.
Sure.
So there's never a good time, and it's always the right time to change your health.
Absolutely. Oh, well, that is so cool. Thanks. I'm really encouraged. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, Carol Marie.
I'm forever going to be grateful for you, Jim, and your story. It's what brought me to Bright Line Eating. It's what's bringing my parents back, and I'll forever be grateful for you. So thank you for all that you're doing and have done through Bright Line Eating.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You have a great day, and greet your husband, Jake, for me.
Thank you so much. Say hi to Jen.
Will do. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Carol Marie, for being willing to share your story with us. I love how you've embraced the Bright Line Eating lifestyle and how so many around you have admired how much your life has changed and are now starting their Bright Line Eating journey as well. Now, if you enjoyed that interview and hearing Carol Marie share her story, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Now, if you want to explore Bright Line Eating for yourself and see if it might be a good fit for you, I have several suggestions. First, if you have not already done so, take the free susceptibility quiz. That will give you an indication on a scale of 1 to 10 how susceptible you may be to food addiction. Second, either read the Bright Line Eating book or sign up for the 14-day challenge. And third, I have a number of videos on this channel that tell my story and provide other helpful info and resources on Bright Line Eating. So if you've not already done so, go ahead and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I've included links to everything I mentioned, like the book, the 14-day challenge, and the susceptibility quiz in the description of this video below. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks again to Carol Marie. Goodbye.